Okay, so we're going to begin to apply the ordinate dimensions, and just to be neat, I'm going to offset our rectangle, and you'll see why in a minute, by 5 units. Okay, it's just for consistency in placing our ordinate dimensions. So, okay, so let's go ahead and probably, generally I like to dimension in paper space because your dimensions will display at whatever size you have them set at in your dimension style. In other words, your text height doesn't depend on your viewport scale. Now there's another way to overcome this if you dimension in model space. But generally I prefer to dimension in paper space or the, the layout tab. The ordinate dimensioning is one of those situations where it's easier just to dimension, in my opinion, in model space. Now, this will be one of the few times that you'll see me actually applying dimensions in model space. Most times I do it in paper space, but just wanted to bring that to your attention. Okay, so if you're dimensioning in model space, I think it's a good idea to go to your layout tab and go ahead and scale your viewport. So find your drawing in your viewport and then try to find a scale that works. So it looks like 2:1 or double scale is what's going to work well for this particular drawing. So go ahead and scale and lock it, and then come back over to model space. I also believe you could just as easily do this through the floating viewport here, but I'll just go over to model space and on my dimension layer, and let's what we're going to do. Well, let me just place a dimension and show you what I'm talking about. So DOR is the command for ordinate dimensioning, and so I'll enter that, and let me define the ordinate, the base, the origin. Okay, so I'll click here the endpoint of our first rectangle. Okay, not the outside one, but the inside one, and then go perpendicular down and left click. Okay, and you can see that I'll have the 0 x coordinate. Okay, so let's go over to the layout tab and see what's going on here. Okay, now in the English system, text should appear at 0.12 inches high. The text height should be, or about 1/8 of an inch. So let's take 0.125 or 0.12 and then multiply it by 25.4. They're 25.4 millimeters in an inch. Okay, so you can see that the text height should be about 3. Okay, in the metric system, 3 millimeters. All right. In paper space, okay, this is on paper, I'm just going to draw a line alongside this 0 just to show you what's happening here. This is actually displaying at text height of 6. Okay, well that's strange because if we go back over here to model space, this is actually displaying, if I draw a line beside it, it's displaying it around 3. Okay, well, it's because of your viewport scale. All right, we're at a double scale. Okay, so since we dimensioned in model space, it's also doubling the size of our text, which we don't want. We still want our text to display at 3 millimeters. Okay, just like it is in model space, but it's coming up at 6 millimeters in paper space. Okay, so I want to undo and get back to where we are here. Okay, and what I need to do is I'll go into dim style, and on the decimal I want to go to modify. On the fit tab I want to choose annotative. Alright, and then OK and close. Alright, so now when we place the first ordinate dimension, DOR, AutoCAD asks me, it says you are creating an annotative object. Set the annotation scale to the scale at which the annotation is intended to display. Well, we want it to display at 2:1, which is the same as the viewport scale. Okay, so let's apply that ordinate dimension just like we did before. Okay, and you can see that the annotative scaling in model space has changed from 1:1 to 2:1. Okay, that happened when I changed that drop down. It changed from 1:1 to 2:1. Also, in but more importantly, I should say, in the layout, which is what actually where you print from, this text height is now approximately 3 millimeters, which is what it should be. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to move much more quickly and go around, and this is also a good way I can check my work. But DOR, and I want to select the centers of all these circles, and then just go perpendicular down. Placing those ordinate dimensions, and notice I'm not going all the way to the top ones if they're on the same row. And those numbers should be the same as the ones used. I forgot this one. Used in the text, and then don't forget the one on the end here. All right, then we want to go along the y-axis and do the same thing. So 0, by the way, I guess I could have gone to the quadrant of the circles instead of the center point, and that probably would have made more sense. Yeah, that would have made more sense. Anyway, the damage is done, but it can be fixed. All right, so we should have the same numbers on that axis as well: 0, 6, 11, 21, 38, and let's not forget the top at 45. And now we can erase that rectangle on the outside, and I just, instead of these being on the center, let me move these to the quadrant. Otherwise, I'll need to trim. Oh, need to click on the line, and I'm having trouble selecting it. Then grip at it and move it out. So click on the line, pick the pick box, and then move it to the outside. And that way, these display properly. Got a couple more things to do. We're going to add a table in AutoCAD, which we haven't addressed yet. And if I can ever finish doing all these, and I want to add some center lines to show that the lines above these circles and to the right of the circles are along the same axis. So for example, let me go to my center layer here. I want to go from quadrant to quadrant with a center line to show that all those are at the same level, and also do that vertically. I've seen this done in different ways in different books. We're not doing it quite the same way as shown in the figure, but this is the way I've seen it in a couple of other texts, and I kind of like the way this is very readable. This way. Okay, so I think we've drawn all the lines that are necessary, and let's switch and see what we're looking like in paper space. We're going to have to adjust the line type scale, okay, because it looks like our center lines aren't showing up properly. I think we'll probably have to change those to, yeah, looks like a line type scale of 0.5. Okay, so now those are showing up as they should. And we need to add a table, and I suppose that we could add the table above or below the object. I think what I'm going to do is unlock my viewport and just move up my object a little bit to allow some room for a table. And you can add this in paper space or model space, whatever your preference. Again, you have to worry about scaling. So I think I'm just going to add mine in paper space.